Hey guys, what's going on? Matt O'Leary back with another video. In today's video, I'm going to go through the biggest New York Jets storylines of the day, including an unfortunate injury and, of course, something that I noticed in the Jets preseason game from last night. So bad news, the New York Jets lost a wide receiver for the season. Malik Taylor, who was injured earlier in training camp, is officially done for the year after the New York Jets have IR'd him. In place, they have added Jalen Twyman. So first on Malik Taylor, before we get into who the New York Jets add. Malik Taylor, I thought, was having a very strong training camp. Now, there was really an opportunity between guys like Jason Brownlee, Malik Taylor, Irv Charles, guys like that who are kind of competing for maybe the last roster spot or two for the New York Jets wide receiver room. And Malik Taylor expressed a relationship with Aaron Rodgers due to their time in Green Bay. He also adds a little bit of a deep element to his game. So I would say he wasn't a lock for the New York Jets roster by any stretch of the imagination, but he was definitely a part of this competition. And it just really stinks to see someone's season come to an end in training camp. Like, that's a really unfortunate blow to not only him, but the New York Jets. Now for Jalen Twyman, he was a 2021 sixth rounder from the Minnesota Vikings. He was on the practice squad for the Miami Dolphins in 2022. Last year, he played for the San Antonio Brahmas, so kind of bounced around, hasn't really been able to stick, especially in the NFL. He plays on the defensive line, and yes, the New York Jets add another defensive lineman here, but unfortunately for Twyman, I think he's going to have a real uphill battle because just how many bodies are on that defensive line. And this is without Hassan Reddick right now, but even still, there's a lot of guys. Brain McGregor, I thought, had a really good game yesterday and stood out as a major positive. Like, how much are we really going to be able to see from Twyman here to make this roster? Maybe this is a practice squad body that the New York Jets want to bring in here, but if you're looking for someone who has a chance to make the roster, unfortunately, I don't think it's Twyman, but we will see what happens over the next week or so. Looking at the Jets wide receiver room, I think it got a little bit easier to predict who the wide receivers are going to end up being. And right now I have Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, Allen Lazard, Xavier Gipson, Malachi Corley, and then Jason Brownlee as the sixth wide receiver. And I am not carrying seven wide receivers, at least I don't think the Jets are right now. And a reason for that, you might be going, well, what about Irv Charles? Doesn't he play on special teams? And yes, he's essentially been the Jets' gunner, and that was the assumption after they decided to let their special teams ace Justin Hardy walk in free agency. So Irv Charles, he had that forced fumble that one time against Denver. He's a good gunner, right? Well, I don't know. He had a nice play that one time, but in the weeks where Justin Hardy was not in attendance, the Jets really struggled to cover punts, and the game that really jumps out to me is a game I was in attendance for against the Chargers, where they gave up a punt return for a touchdown. And honestly, Qwan'Tez Stiggers, who has stood out in mini camp, OTAs, training camp, and now preseason games, I thought he stood out as a positive. I'm not the lone one who had that thought. Will Parkinson, who covers the New York Jets, Turn on the Jets podcast over on Badlands, he said the same thing. He's someone whose opinion that I respect, and when I picked up on that and I saw Will Parkinson tweet that, I started to think, noodle that one around a little bit. Maybe the Jets don't have to carry Irv Charles, and that allows the Jets to open up a roster spot in that case, which once again, I think is a positive for this team, and honestly, something that's probably pretty necessary right now. Qwan'Tez Stiggers, Brandon Echols, two cornerbacks for the New York Jets with really good speed and good tackling, I think can handle that role. I don't necessarily think Irv Charles has to make this team. He also had a penalty in this past game, and not that, oh, you had a penalty, you deserve to be cut, because if we were holding people to that standard, then you could talk about Jason Brownlee and his drop from the game last night and say, well, he deserves to be cut. And to that, I would have to say, touche. That's a good comeback. I don't have anything for you on that. But for Irv Charles, I don't know if it's necessarily a lock that he makes this team that some believe that it is. So can he make it? yes, I'm not going to, sit here and tell you after the 53-man roster comes out, if Irv Charles is on it, that I'm going to throw my hands up and go, this is a huge surprise. But if he gets cut, same thing. I'm not going to go, well, that's a massive surprise. I'll go, okay, I get it. They're probably going to use one of Qwan'Tez Stiggers or Brandon Echols in that role, and they wanted to free up a roster spot somewhere else. I'd say, okay, I understand that. So anyway, that's what I got for you today on this lovely Sunday. Chime in down below in the comments what you think. Once again, I'm Matt O'Leary. Subscribe if you're new, and I'll catch you next time.